Hello, everyone. I am Paul Chang, your professor for Jesus, RLST 006. Um, this is the first lecture to cover the syllabus, just to give a brief overview of the class and talk about some general principles and concerns. So first things first, our two TAs are Fatima Payton and Samantha Griggs. Both of their emails are on the syllabus. My email is also there. Uh, if you want to contact us, please send us an email because it's asynchronous over Zoom. I'm not planning on having set office hours, but I will make time for anybody who needs to talk or would like to talk. Then we have two textbooks, Paula Fredrickson, Jesus of Nazareth, and Stephen Prothero, American Jesus. You need to get these books as soon as possible, and we'll talk about that too when we get to that point about the textbooks. The course description, just read it. Jesus is one of the most famous and contested figures of religion and history. This course examines the figure of Jesus from two main perspectives: historical examinations of Jesus in his first century context, and representations of Jesus in the United States, primarily in the 19th and 20th centuries. So just to make it simple, I created this course. I thought that there's two main questions most people probably want to ask when they think about Jesus or have a class on Jesus. That is, who is Jesus really? We could say really, as much as we can understand who Jesus is or who any historical figure is. And then why do we still care? Why is Jesus still popular? Why is Jesus so important? And so that is the two halves of this class. First, we're going to be thinking about Jesus in the first century in ancient Rome, where he is from, where he was lived and died in modern day Palestine or Israel. The second part is the United States. We're mainly going to focus on the U.S., even though Jesus is definitely a global figure. But we'll think about how he became such a popular figure right here. Why so many people claim Jesus, admire Jesus, know about Jesus. Probably still the most famous or well-known single human being who ever lived, and certainly in America, probably the most admired as well. Okay, so course objectives. By the end of the course, I hope that you can explain the Roman and Jewish context of Jesus. You can think about and list the most likely historical facts about Jesus and his message, what he said. Hopefully, you can also illustrate how historic and contemporary American communities have portrayed Jesus, and then explain how both Christian and non-Christian American communities have worked together in kind of unexpected and unintentional ways to bolster Jesus' reputation. Because, as they said, this class is entirely online and asynchronous, and it's also kind of trying to deal with the realities of AI. Some of the things here are new, are experimental, and so things may need to change. I may need to change things partway through. It seems like they're not working. I hope they won't have to be too drastic, but I'm also open, reciprocally. I'm also open to you suggesting problems or issues or concerns if you have them, and I'm happy to work with you and think about it. If you think something about the course needs to be changed in general, or if it's just not working for you specifically. I definitely think of classes as a kind of win-win situation. If you know anything about game theory, I want you to win, and I also would like to win. I think you win if I guess correctly as a student. You win if you get an A and do the least possible work. I know that that is probably one goal, especially during the summer. But I win, so to speak, if you do well, if you learn, if you do apply yourself, if I do make you work. Maybe it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be grinding in many hours and difficult labor, but I make you work in a smart way and an effective way that helps you learn. Then I'm all for that. So we're not necessarily competing against each other in this kind of game that we're set up as teacher and student. So I hope we can win together. Right? I hope you are going to do your work. You're going to be pushed. You're going to be challenged, but you're going to learn a lot. And then you also hopefully all receive great grades. Okay, so you will need to be able to use Canvas, email, YouTube, Google Docs, or Word, some sort of word processing to participate fully in this class. It is reading and writing heavy. It is a humanities course, and I see humanities, one of the fundamental skills is being able to express yourself with words. So that means being able to read other people's words and being able to create some of your own. Okay, so there will be quite a bit of that. Now, textbooks. There are these two textbooks. They are not expensive. You can buy them, I think, easily under $40 or $30 for the both of them. So probably used much cheaper. So you need them as soon as possible. Please buy them. We will be reading both of them cover to cover. So we're not wasting your time. I'm not wasting your money. You need to show proof of having the book to the TA by the end of the first week. If you do not have a copy, you will lose up to 5 points that week. But if you do have a copy, then I will give you 5 points of extra credit. Okay, so by the end of the first week, please show proof to the TA. It can be a screenshot. If it's electronic, it can be a digital copy of the book. If it's physical, you can just take a picture, anything. So show us a receipt. But please get the books as soon as possible so you're engaging with the text and trying to read them. I expect you to read all the assigned readings and not just watch the videos. The videos, I will go over them briefly, but there's a lot more in the text. Eventually, you will be writing weekly essays, which I'll go over shortly, and also longer essays in your midterm and final. So that will require some engagement, some deeper engagement. Okay, so the weekly essays are half of your grade in this class. Most weeks, you'll write two short essays of about 400 words, at least 400 words. Each essay, pretty simple, needs to name the three most important things you learn from either one or two of the chapters in a given week in each essay and explain why you thought they're important. And then the essay also has to raise a question. So give me the three things you think are most important and also raise a question. The question can be something you didn't understand. So what's going on here? What does this word mean? What are these issues? At least one question. You can get more if you want, certainly. It can be a critique or objection, that kind of question, right? I didn't like this. Why does the author talk like this? I find this objectionable or problematic. That's fine. And then it can also be a request for further information or guidance. So the text doesn't cover this. I have more questions about Jewish rituals in the time of Jesus, or I have some more questions about Roman politics. That's fine too. Those are all totally valid questions. And then when you're writing these two essays, if you write two essays, I don't want overlap because we're covering so many chapters. The two essays should cover at least two different chapters, right? So don't give me one essay on chapter 2 and then another essay on chapter 2. Move on to chapter 3. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward. And if you decide to write on more, that's great. Many weeks we're covering 4 chapters. So if you want to cover all 4 chapters, one essay, 2 and another essay, that's perfectly fine. I'd love to see you challenge yourself and write more. Now, as far as the AI and all these kind of things, this is where I'm kind of leaning into it, especially because we're asynchronous. I'm not going to try to observe you or watch you. I'll give you 2 ways to write your essays. Okay, so the first way is you can write the essay on your own without any help from AI. And then in that case, I want you to write at the top of your submission, this essay was written without any help from AI, right? And in that case, you just need to write the 400 words. And that's fine. That's totally valid and a great way to write essays. This is perhaps more challenging for some of you, but if you take it, then I think you may also learn. It kind of forces you to practice this old-fashioned method of thinking and writing. Now, if you do this, though, I do want to warn you, and there's any proof, if we see any proof or we find any proof that you were using AI, it will be treated like a plagiarism case because it's an academic integrity case. You're basically lying to us, to the TAs and I. I take that seriously. We take that seriously. It may result in losing all credit for the assignment, and we may have to refer you to student conduct and academic integrity programs. I have done that in the past before for various issues. I hope I don't have to do it again. I hope I never have to do it again, but that's just, that's just a fact of our life now. If you're going to say you won't use AI, then please don't use it. Just be honest about it. Because there's a second way you can write an essay. Now, the second way is with help from AI, right? In which case, I want the following words to appear on the top of your submission. It's something like, this essay was written with the help of, blank, blank, right? OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever, some DeepSeek. Then you fill in that blank with the name of the program or programs that you used. And then, then I want you to do something very special in this case, or a little bit different. It's slightly more complex. Before you consult the AI, before you punch in any inputs, I want you to list 3 things that you think are the most important in the question. I want you you to just do it. And this only needs to be 100 words, okay? So not a lot. You don't have to go in detail. Just say, look, before I consulted with AI, I thought the most important things from chapter 1 were, X, Y, and Z, were um, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Zealots. Those were the most important, these 3 Jewish factions that we talked about in class, right? So, and then my one question was, what's going on with the Zealots anyway? And then you consult the AI, right? If you want to, then you can consult the AI. I want you to list, to show what you can put in the AI generated text of about 400 words, and then I want you to change it, to work on it. If there's any mistakes it's making, if you see that AI, there are a lot of problems. I've played around with AI, some too. I know there are hallucinations, there are problems. There are things that AI pulls out of external sources that aren't in our text, that maybe are different from the scholarly consensus, from what our authors or I might agree with, which you can tell from my lectures and from the textbooks. I want you to change it and adjust it if you see anything that's a problem. And I want you to mark the changes so that your TAs can see them in the grading, can see what you added, what you cut out. You can use track changes or anything like that. And then write another 100 words to explain the changes you made. Okay. If you choose not to change anything, if you think the AI did a much better job than anything you could do and it made no mistakes at all, write 200 words then about why you think the AI's answer was better than yours and what you learned from what the AI produced. So you're still writing at least 200 words of your own, right? So first you're going to, what you did before you put it into the AI model, and then at least another 100 words to explain the changes you made, or 300 words with 100 words at the beginning, what your guesses were before you consulted AI, and then 200 words about why the AI did such a better job and what you learned from what the AI did and how it did that. So, you don't have to produce quite as much writing. You can use the AI to produce it for you. You just have to read it, right? And you're kind of doing meta work instead of creating the text on your own. The AI, I understand, is creating it for you, but you are still interacting with it. You're giving it your best shot before, and then you're also explaining how you used the tools, because hopefully you're still getting hired. I know you're in college to get a job. That's why most of us are here and studying these kind of things. Your boss can use AI also, but your boss will want to hire you because they want to put a face, right? They want someone to say, look, I take responsibility for what has been created. You're writing advertising copy, or you're writing a memo, or you're writing a letter to a client, or you're writing a letter to another department. It's fine if you use AI. I think, if you write well, if it improves your writing, that's great. But if there's an inaccuracy, right, if there's a hallucination, or if there's, anything that's inappropriate or, non-standard or anything like that, the boss wants to hire you, right? The reason the boss didn't just do it themselves, they want to hire you. They want you to explain what you did, why you did this, right? And that's what I mean. Like, I want you to take credit, take responsibility, right? Own up to your use of AI. And I think this is probably our future. But I want you to be responsible and thoughtful users of these kind of powerful tools. Okay? So use them if you want, but, practice being the bottom line, being someone that someone would want to hire, that a company or that a corporation or institution would want to hire, not only because you know how to plug in the same things into, these prompts and these AIs, but that when they're lying or when they're making mistakes, and you're thoughtful about how to use them, right? So you're using them well instead of poorly. Then the midterm and final will be another 25% each. Each of these midterms and finals is substantially longer than your shorter essays, 1,600 words. I'd like it to have more structure. You'll see the rubrics. I'll post them prompt soon so you can work on them ahead of time if you need to. These are really persuasive. So the weekly essays are a chance to learn stuff so that you just know facts, because this is important, content mastery. But the midterm and the final are chances to argue for why this stuff matters, or why a certain interpretation of stuff pertains, or is more convincing or powerful. And this really gets to the heart of why we do humanities at all. In a world of large language models and AI, where computers can write essays better than all of us in some ways. What's the point of learning how to read and write more? What's the point of having humanities? We still have person-to-person contact, person-to-person connections, and words are still the most powerful tool by which people are influenced, inspired, terrified, etc. Right? Politicians debate and make speeches. Right? Marketers use information and words. It is important for a university to practice to take ownership of words. Otherwise, all we have is politicians and marketers. I think there's still an important place for education to teach people when and how words can be used to manipulate. And so part of this best exercise for understanding that is going into it yourself, trying to persuade someone, right? Moving on from understanding the content to using content to persuade others or to understand and explain your own perspective, your own values. This is something that's critical for being a human being, for being a citizen of any community, a member of any community, and even for finding a job, very practically. So this is my small pitch for the humanities. This is the reason you will be learning to write a persuasive essay so that you can argue for what is the best course of action. Given all this complex information, given the world we live in, how can you still make a difference? How can you still make an argument with words? That is what your midterm and finals will be with. And again, you can have a choice whether or not you want to use AI to help you. That's fine either way. Yes. So then what else? Finally, this is the last little note that I do, career counseling. Again, because you are here to get a job, I'm encouraging you all to please go and see the career office. The career office is full of professionals who are already being paid for by the taxpayers of California and your tuition dollars, and they're experts in finding you jobs. So most professors are brilliant in their fields, but if I could sell out my colleagues a little bit, most of us have no idea how to find a normal job. A few of us have worked in industry, but even the ones who have less industry experience and less job finding experience, many times, to be frank, they did great in school, they were top of their class, all these things. It was not hard for them to find a job, but they don't know how to help most people find jobs. There are dedicated professionals, right, who help average college graduates get jobs day in and day out, and they're excellent, and they can show you where your strengths are. Don't feel bad being an average college student. If you're an average college student in the University of California system, you are an exceptional person already, and you should believe that. But to monetize your skills, to find a practical outlook, to find a job, you will need to talk to a college. You should. What the best way is to find someone whose job is helping you find a job. And we have these people on campus, so please go and find them. Go talk to a college counselor, maybe once, maybe multiple times, actually ideally multiple times. But if you even go once and send proof, right, again, a screenshot, a picture of a business card, anything, you don't have to go in person, you can go online, the Zoom meeting, anything is fine. Send it to your TA, they will also give you 5 points of extra credit. Okay? So that's that as far as the overall structure of the class. The weekly essays are 50%, midterm is 25%, final is 25%. If you have any questions on grades, go first to the TAs. They are your frontline graders. They will be reading all your work first. Usually I only get involved when it's more complex. If there are issues or you don't agree, you can email me. Or if there's larger issues with content or the overall structure of the class. Okay? So I think the rest of the syllabus is pretty self-explanatory. What we'll cover in each week, I will be posting the first 2 readings, background to first century Judaism, background to Rome and the Jews, then Frederickson, the first reading. You have to write your first essay 1 and 2. Week 2, we'll continue through Frederickson, chapters 2 and 3, write 2 more essays. Week 3, we'll finish the Frederickson book and begin the first chapter and the introduction of the Prothero book on American Jesus. You can write your essay on whichever those you choose, and then the midterm will also be due that week. Week 4 and 5, we'll finish the Prothero book, writing more weekly essays as usual, and with our final exam. So there are other resources here, from academic misconduct to disabilities, the Academic Resource Center, library, IT, health and well-being, and mental health resources. Please take a look at that if you don't know that you have these resources on campus. Again, they're paid for and they're there. I hope you take advantage of them. And then other than that, I will be releasing videos to try to guide you, but not replace the readings. They're by no means meant to be comprehensive, but they will hopefully guide you a little bit, give you some overview. And they'll all be posted to my YouTube channel, and there should be clearly marked into the playlist for RLST 006. So you can just go down that list uh, and watch the videos in turn, and hopefully use them either before or after your readings to help make sense of them. I think there's good points to be made either way, for either before or after. Okay, so I'm looking forward to taking this journey with you. Thank you for your patience, and I will see you asynchronously and online. Take care.